Hey kids, how are you? You look good. You look beautiful today. So beautiful that I'm going to tell you a story. This week's story is about a man named Rodney Callahan Francis II. Now, Rodney Callahan Francis II was a very, very fancy man. He wore fancy things, did fancy things, wore fancy shoes, ate fancy foods with fancy names. He was so fancy, sometimes they called him Fancy. Fancy Pantsy, actually. That's funny, isn't it? So anyway, Rodney Callahan decided to himself, I have got to be more fancy. What is the most fancy thing I could possibly do? Answer: ride in a hot air balloon. Yes, yes, he said to himself. Riding in a hot air balloon is the most fancy thing one can do. So he went out, found a hot air balloon, filled it up with all of the hottest, fanciest air you could find. And he went up, 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 so high that he was even above most of the clouds. Now, Rodney is a tad bit forgetful, and he forgot to bring his lunch. And when he realized this, he said to himself, Self, I can't go all the way back down there. I mean, it'll take too long. Hours perhaps. Days perhaps. Weeks perhaps. Months. Years. Decades. 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 Well, it probably wouldn't take that long. But Rodney did need to get back to his fancy life, so he couldn't do this forever. And Rodney thought to himself, Self, what am I going to eat? I'm going to starve up here, and that's no way for a fancy man to die. So he thought to himself. He looked around, and he saw clouds, obviously, because he was very high up there. And he remembered that clouds aren't made of air, despite what your school teachers tell you. They're actually made of marshmallows. Jet puffed. Jet puffed. Jet puffed. Now, Rodney loved marshmallows. He had quite a sweet tooth. So he ate quite a few marshmallows. More than 5, less than 2,000. I'll let you guess. Rodney ate and ate and ate and ate and ate and ate and ate. 8 marshmallows until the sun came up. And eventually, Rodney exploded from all of the marshmallows. Jet puffed. Now, this was bad news for Rodney, but great news for Southern Cleveland. Because Rodney was flying right over Southern Cleveland at the same time that he exploded from ingesting marshmallows. And Cleveland had a lovely shower of partially digested marshmallows that day. And everyone was full, and everyone lived happily ever after. Thank you.